Hello, welcome. My name is Nacho Riesco, and here I am again, as usual, once a month, sculpting jewelry designs with ZBrush. So today we are going to continue with this design I started 2 streamings ago. This is the third streaming about this design. The design is based on this reference. You can see it here. It's a very old drawing from René Lalique. It's a very well-known designer, jewelry designer, who made a lot of Art Nouveau style jewelry, which I love. I love his style. I found this old drawing or illustration, and then we are trying to make a ring based on this concept, because it wasn't produced as far as I know. So, but I found it very interesting. So we will continue working on it. So this is the third streaming. I am working on this one. You can see I didn't make too much progress on it, because on the previous streaming we were talking about completely different things. So I will try today make as more progress as possible, because I will try to be focused on this design, because as I said before on the previous streaming, we were talking about completely different things, completely different workflows. You were asking other themes not related with this design, so that's the reason why I didn't make any progress, almost any progress on the design. So I will try today to spend more time on making more progress. So just a reminder, you go to my YouTube channel. I will show you here. So you will find me under YouTube under my name, Nacho Riesco. Here you will find my YouTube channel. So scrolling down here, you have the collection of all the streaming I have been doing with Pixology and with Maxim during the past years. So here you will find the first 2 streamings about this design that I was talking about before. So the number 1 and number 2, and many other. If you click on my ZBrush live streams, here you have all of in one place the whole collection of all of my streaming, where I was doing many different kind of jewelry designs. So just in case you are interested on my job, so take a look to my YouTube channel and ask whatever you need on the comments. And you can see at the bottom of my face, on my head, my bubble, where I am. So you can read my link tree, where you can go to here. I will show you. You can click into my link tree. You will be in a place where you have access to all of my social media places, my personal website. Even you can find some gifts at this first button, when you will find free Keyshot 9 silver material just for free, just in case you are using Keyshot for your renderings. And you will get access to my website, to my Arstation, to my Behance, my Instagram, my YouTube channel that we were talking about before, and many other places when you can follow my work, just in case that you like what I'm doing. So let's close this. Welcome everybody. Hello. Turn the music down a bit. Okay, let me know it works better now. Maybe I can. It is the same value as on the previous streaming. I was testing the music before, and it looks like it is not very loud, not very low. At the same, I'm trying to find a good balance between the music and my voice. So let me know if now it's better than before, because I really appreciate your comments and your support during the streamings. Miroslav, thank you very much for the comments. Nudes, hello. Afexer, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, with very busy. You, I hope so. Always another time pleasure have you here again every month. Yeah, every month. I try to be every month. So if I am not having any issues or any problem, or personal issues or health issues or internet issues, as I was having the past month, no, 2 weeks, 2 months before. So now it's okay, perfect. So now we can start working. So we can start just saying, as I'm used to say on all of my streaming, I'm here just for sharing with you what I'm doing, post your comments, send your comments, questions, suggestions. I'm not here just for being working or talking, so I will try to pay us more attention about what you are saying, what you are commenting, and I will be more than happy to help you if I can with my knowledge. Hey Hearts, welcome. Love watching it. Every time I learn something, that's very cool. I'm trying to show you something new every month, or what I can think that once you are used to see the streaming on one artist or one streamer, so you can start feeling that he is doing almost the same thing or repeating and repeating always the same stuff. I try to offer or to give you different ways to approach the same thing during my streaming. So I try to be as less boring as possible. So so let's start working on this, because we keep talking and we don't make any progress on this design. Anyway, I will try to pay us more attention to the chat, just in case you are posting questions or comments. So this is what I'm gonna start working on. The wing. This is the wing we made on the previous streaming. I will try to refine first the shape a little bit, because you can see it has a very rough shape. So let's start working on it. So I will grab my Move Infinity brush with my AcuCurve option, just for refine these endings. When you are using the AcuCurve, you can move with any of the move brushes. You get the ending of the movement ends on a peaky worm. If I turn it off, you can see the difference. Turn it off, turn it on, you can see the differences between having the AcuCurve active or non-active. In this case, is very useful for start making the corners to differentiate where each feather ends, like this. You're making your brush size smaller, so you will be able to make a sharper or more picky ending. So once you're happy with the result, we can turn this off. Now let's try to refine, try to make it like something like this. I will now with AcuCurve again, we can change this one, and looking at the reference, I'm gonna make it this bigger. You can see maybe I can create a pointy ending here and a pointy ending here, maybe here as well. And then without the AcuCurve, I can start refining the shapes. So once you're having this, we can check out how the polygroups are with the different colors. You can see we have different polygroups. Control W just for change the color. Control W, we have 3 different polygroups: front side, back side, and the profile. I'm gonna tap on the profile. I'm gonna grab now my slice curve. With the slice curve, you can start slicing the mess, making new polygroups. So let's make a polygroup here. Let's make a new one here. Let's make another one, and we can keep making polygroups on each cavity to differentiate better the feathers. So this is what we are having. I forgot to make something. Let's undo it. So because it's better, I forgot to hide this, because if it is visible, the new polygroups will affect this one. I want to retain this as it is, so it's better to keep it not visible. So let's start again. Let's make it fast with one like this and like this. It is not necessary now being very precise. We are just making fast polygroups like this. And now what we can do is to make a new polygroup. I'm gonna grab now my mask lasso. I'm gonna grab this for making a new polygroup. And Control W. This is one polygroup, and this is the other polygroup. Maybe I'm gonna select this one also. This. with a new polygroup here. So we have a split, maybe here we can create one more here, something like this, something like this. So we have split the profile into different polygroups. And now it's time to make a new mesh, because you can see here I made this block or this shape using the mesh extract. So this is very common, where you have the original topology at both sides, and on the profile you have this kind of extruded or long polygons on the sides. But it is not a problem, because we have the ZBrush to change the topology at any time. We can go to geometry, ZBrush, and the settings could be, maybe we are looking to create a new mesh with the same amount of polygons. We want to retain the groups. We don't want to apply any smoothing to the groups. And let's say ZBrush now. This is what we get. Let's click on half now. Like this, one more time. You can see now now we have a more friendly mesh for being sculpted or being subdivided. That's the main reason why I made this. Instead of leave it as it was, I prefer to change the topology, because it's much better to handle this as it is. I'm not very obsessed or very worried about the topology, because I'm mostly work for 3D printing, for making real products. So during the sculpting process, I'm not very worried about the topology. Just in some cases when we need much more organized topology for different reasons, which could be making UVs or trying to find clean shapes or clean edges or clean borders. In that case, it's much better to try to make a good topology instead of keep using Dynamesh or Sculpting Pro. So, but I'm not very worried about the topology during my sculpting process. Okay, no questions, no comments. Okay, just people watching. So I keep working. So once we have the topology ready, here you have, this is the wing. I'm gonna change the location. Maybe I'm gonna make it thicker, like this. It is going to be a little bit thicker than the band. If we want to check how thick is this, remember, so we should go to Simple again, Scale Master first, click on Set the Scene Scale, Tails to ZBrush, on which scale we want to work. So we want to work in millimeters, and these are the current measurements of this tool, right? It is now 1.726 millimeter thick, but it's just for having an information during the designing process, mainly, because when we are creating jewelry, it's very important to keep all the measurements under control, or at least to know how big the things which we are sculpting are. So in terms of thicknesses, distances, and so on, because we should be worried about the success on the 3D printing, on the casting, and also trying to make the piece as lighter as possible, not to make the piece very heavy to wear. So when we are creating base meshes like this one, it's well to know how thick is this in terms of we are not creating a very thick piece of material, in this case piece of metal. Ivan, thank you very much to you for being here watching the streaming. Welcome. And so we are working with a piece of material of 1.6 or 1.7 millimeter. It's a good number. So we are not creating it is not very thin, it's not very thick. So maybe we can stay in the middle. So at this point we are still designing the product or the model. I mean that during the designing process, we can start adjusting or tweaking the measurements. That means that when we are creating a measurement, it doesn't mean that it's going to be the definitive measurements, because during the designing process, when we are developing the design, we can change our mind, or we are going to need more thickness or less thickness depending on the kind of design that we are doing. So I mean, we don't have to be very worried about the precision of the measurement at this point. When we are still developing the model. So let's go to the gizmo, and we are gonna, let's send it to the center of the piece of the subtool, and we can get into click on the gear and click on bend arc, and we are going to be able to start bending this. You can see now we have a little offset. That's the reason why, maybe because this piece is not completely in the center or of this axis. A very good habit when you are creating when you are creating rings, when you are creating ring designs, it's having the floor active with the 3 axes visible. I mean the X, Y, and Z. And you should go to the draw menu and change your elevation from -1 to 0. As you can see now, the things are crossing in the center, and here I'm having a problem because for any reason, I don't know why, you can see here the object is not in the middle. This thing could happen. You are having this button here, center mesh to world, that I have on my custom interface. If you want to know where it is, this button is a default button, which comes by default with the standard installation of ZBrush. And then let me think, it is, if you press the control key here, it is C-script, button path, macros, miscellaneous 0. So you should go to macros, open the macros, and here you have this button. So when you are pressing this button, you can see you can send any subtool to the center of the world, exactly to the 0, 0, 0 coordinates. So I'm gonna make the same thing with this one. And now I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to move everything up using the pizza boxes of this, pushing up this bunch of subtools. Maybe we can, now we're having this under its original position, or maybe we can push it a little bit, maybe this way, or maybe taller, maybe here. Maybe we can push this down. It's not definitive, the position, but now we are sure that everything is in the center, or at least the 2 more important subtool, which are the mandrel. This is the piece that we are going to use to make the hole, the ring hole, or the ring size. This is the ring band. So these 2 should be at the 0, 0, 0 position. At the wing, now we have moved it with the other subtools. If we want to send it back to its 0 coordinates, in this case on the Z-axis, you have also these 3 buttons. You will find them at the same place. These 3 buttons that I have on my custom interface. If we click on 0, we will send the wing exactly to the 0 position of the Z-axis. In this case, it's going to be very important, because if we want to use now the bend arc, now you can see now it is completely straight compared with the ring band. So maybe it is should be a little bit shorter, like this. Maybe we can use the bend arc. Oops, we should click on a set before apply another action. So before bend arc, and now let's bend it this way. And now we send the gizmo to the center of the workspace. Just open the lock with the Alt key and click it on the house. Now we are going to be able to, and think this is going to be okay, like this. And let's push this in. now we're having a problem. It's normal when we are moving the wing, so as we were bending the wing compare with the ring size on its previous position, you can see now when we are moving the wing to a different position, you can see it doesn't work between the band and the wing. So let's undo it. So first, decide which is going to be the final position. It's going to be this one, I think. And then apply the bend arc again. No, maybe let's push out a little bit more here. Bend arc, and let's stay there. Okay, looks nice. Click on accept, send it back to the center of the workspace, and now we can maybe make it, leave it there as its our final position. Maybe we can use the move infinitive to start tweaking a little bit the position, and then let's change the shape here a little bit. It looks like at the end of the last feather is a little bit bended, so we can, let's see if we try to make a mask here. Let's blur the mask, and we can put the gizmo here, and maybe we can use this bending. Let's see if it looks nicer than before. Maybe yes, maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, I like it, how it looks like. So let's instead of, you can see you can, I'm trying to push out or to bring it down a little bit this part of the wing. When we are using the move brush, it's like we are making a freehand movement with our hands. In this case, we can start making a non-regular movement. You can see we are getting not very straight or very uniform transportation. So what we can do, we can change from the gizmo to the transpose line. We can extend the transpose line, and you can press the shift alt and grabbing the center white dot, and we can start moving everything at the same time, all the polygons once. So maybe trying to get something like this we're getting a more precision effect like this, and maybe we are getting better results. So, and you can see now I'm using, if I press the shift key, I'm using this special brush, it's the smooth groups brush. When we are having different groups, we are able to smooth or to relax the mesh based on the existing polygroups, and now we're having a better, a smoother or better results without artifacts on the surface. Maybe I can change from the smooth groups to smooth valleys to start smoothing this cavity. Now maybe now the smooth peaks here, and now apply a smooth polish by feature. Keep in mind that this is just the base of the wing. It is not necessary to being looking for a perfect finishing now, because it still needs to make the cavities for all of the petals. In this case are going to be cavities for different enamel colors. So we are just looking for the better shape and the more uniform shape as possible, like this, but without be very worried about. And also keep in mind when we are still working on a very low resolution mesh. You can see the amount of polygons is the 3000 polygons. Maybe I'm gonna make a new group, this polygroup and this polygroup, because I don't like this corner I am making here, so it's better to group them. So just for having a rounder transition like this, maybe looks good. Maybe what we can do now, it's we can isolate this polygroup and try to fix this corner like this, and there you go. So we can change here the wing. Another thing that we can do is let's see, because this is the transition of these two planes is very sharp. We are getting a very sharp border here. If we use the polish brush, well, I'm sorry, the polish feature, you can see you can start polishing, and we will start destroying or making the corner more rounded. Maybe it's gonna be enough. If you see that the polishing is very aggressive, maybe you're gonna start subdividing the mesh first, and then when you start polishing the mesh, you can see you are start getting non so destructive or non so aggressive polishing to the surface. Let's see. Let me check the reference. Yeah. Maybe I'm watching this from this view. I don't like this view what we are getting here. In terms of maybe from the side it works. But I still have to decide what happens where the wings meet the band. This step I have here, I don't like it, but it's still a lot to do. But we will try to make a decision about how to improve this transition. We have this between the wing and the band, so let's leave it as it is at the moment, but we can let's subdivide it one more time, 2 times, so we are reaching almost 1 million. You can see you have been watching my previous streamings, you know that the reference that I have that I take when I start subdividing any mesh is the million. So when I reach, when we are having 1 million, I stop subdividing and check if the thing that I am about to create on the mesh is good enough with the resolution that I have, 1 million. If it's good enough, I stop there and keep working. If I need more resolution or more detail, I click it again on the divide button till getting more polygons. But in my opinion, when we are talking about jewelry designs, of course, if you have everything under or around 1 million, it's going to be enough. I think, in my opinion, is not going to be necessary to have maybe more than, maybe we can say as the maximum, maybe 5 millions or maybe 4 millions. Talking about one subtool, you should know that the final model is going to be the result of all of the subtools together. So you just should keep this in mind, because if not, we are going to start adding millions to your model without any sense. So try to keep the poly count as lower as possible. Feels so good. Hey, thank you. Welcome. Big hello to you as well. Okay, so once we have this done, so I mean we have the right shape for the wing on the right place. I don't care about the other one, because when everything is done, we will mirror it to the other side. So we are going to work only at one side. So that's the reason why I'm only making one wing. So now it's time to start making the feathers, the drawing or the layout for the feathers. So let's click on the Z for calling the dial, this for making this a little bit bigger. And now we can isolate this polygroup, Control Z, Control Shift and tap here. And now let's start. What we need, what we're about to create is, we are going to create this something like this. Okay, following the same, more or less the same, right? And the same. So feathers, feather, one feather, another feather, another feather. But you see the original design, we have a little frame which goes all around the profile. So I mean, this, we have this kind of shape. We can paint it by hand, or we can take advantage of this option. If I start shrinking the shrinking the mesh, shrink, 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 shrink. I'm clicking many times, so as you can see, I am shrinking the mesh. If I Control Tab on the canvas for making a, we are creating almost, of course this is not 100% perfect, because we are shrinking the mesh, we are following the original topology, so the topology is not 100% perfect on the border. So, but it's a good starting point to work with. So we can now, using the smash pen, gonna change my focal shift from 0 to -100, turning on lazy mouse, lazy steps to 0, and now we have more control for start drawing this. As I was talking before, knowing the measurements is going to be important, so I need to know now more or less, because in this case it's going to be very difficult to know precisely with perfection how thin is this, but we can take a ruler, the transpose line, you know, I'm clicking from the border, from the mesh to the border, we have 0.48 millimeter. I am reading the value here on my top left corner here. So that means with this brush stroke thickness, I'm getting almost 0.5 millimeter border. So talking about measurements, about 3D printing, and about casting, it's a good value. So we can keep working with this thickness. So can go with. Of course, at some point it's going to be more, and on another point it's going to be less. But maybe we should be around 0.6 and 0.45. If we stay over 0.4 or even 0.35, maybe it's going to be possible for being printed and defined on the printing and on the casting. If you are closer to 0.5 millimeter to half of a millimeter, it's gonna be even better. But just if you are below half of a millimeter, you are around 0.4 millimeter, it's going to be good enough as well. It will depend on the kind of jewelry design that you are making. If you are talking about high jewelry, when we are creating something which is going to be casted or manufactured in gold with precious stones, maybe it will becomes more important. It's gonna be better to keep it around 0.3 instead of 0.5, because we're gonna save weight, so we're gonna save money, we're gonna save material. But with this kind of design, it is not going to be very critical. I think 0.5 millimeter, it's a good decision. Hey Artem, welcome. Thank you. Glad you like it. So let's keep painting. If we don't want to lose or for example, at any time we want to call back again this mask. So because we are putting time here, drawing the mask and refining the mask, I recommend you to make a polygroup based on the mask. So now we can Control W, and you can see now we have another polygroup. So at any time, if I Control Tab, I can call back the mask. Let's see. I'm gonna rotate this image. It's gonna be a better reference if I see it this way, because my brain is gonna read better the reference if I have the reference in the same position than my model. It's gonna, for any reason I paint better, or if my strokes are more controlled if I make them horizontally instead of vertically. It's my personal things. So let's see how we can, let's start making a rough blocking. So that means that we can, maybe we're gonna need a longer lacy radius. Maybe we can one here. Something like this. Maybe you're gonna paint better this one first. Maybe I can try to make it curved, a little bit curved. Something like this. Maybe I can fix this. This is not going to be 100% definitive. So now I'm just worried about the composition, not the perfection in terms of, I don't care if they are not 100% parallel or yeah, I'm just looking for to find a good balance of the feathers instead of another parameter. So I'm just sketching the feathers, right? So this could be something like this. Let's make the brush size a little bit bigger. Maybe I can erase or remove this ones, and then let's see how they work vertically. Oop. Go to the rotation this way. As I'm not looking for 100% copying the design, so this, maybe you are thinking why I am not putting the wing against the image that I was following the feathers with the drawing or with the picture at the back. So the answer is, I don't know, it's just for making it manually, or don't try to make a perfect copy, because here we have perspective, we have a deformation, and this is a flat image. Maybe we can have issues if we try to match exactly one 3D object against one 2D object, but you can use, of course, UV mapping and stuff like that, but we are just looking for the idea and not copying 100% the original design. So let's make a curve here, and it has 1 2 3 4 5. So it has less, because here I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so we have the right number. And now we have another feather, which it's the result of the next two. Having this. Right. And we have now the result of the next two again. Next two and next two. 0. Something like this, and then it goes from here till the end. It goes from here. We're not having exactly the same thing, but it's almost the same, but it's not the same. Let me make it, let me refine it. Maybe that's going to be this feather. It's going to be the first one. It goes from thick to thin. Maybe we can get rid of these endings. And now maybe we can make something like this. Yep. We have this, and then maybe we have the last one. Yeah, maybe something. I think like this is going to be enough. Repeating the same thing. So we can tweak it, or we can make it better after. But even if I am saying this, I always try to make it as more perfect as possible. Okay, this is the main layout that we have. We can invert the mask now. We can make everything visible. Control Shift and Tab. Now maybe it's a good moment to start saving the file. And Damien, would be great if you could start the mask selection to use it later on. Yeah, you can. I think what I am about to say, I have to say that I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I know, you can save the mask under the layer, on the layer information. Now we can't, because you should start recording the layer before start making the mask. But if a good way is to storage your mask under a layer, but I prefer to make a polygroup, as I was mentioned before. So if I select this polygroup, oops, this is the problem about polygroups with this. When you have subdivision levels, maybe I can make a duplicate. You can see when you're moving the mesh, and you can see now it works, now not. Then you can Control W, and now you have different polygroups. So now you can call the mask again, just tapping the polygroup. But as far as I remember, you can record the mask information on a layer. But I'm not 100% sure. Fexter, do you have a question? Perfect. I have a question about a post I saw from the company. Okay. I don't know if you could please, since you work in those quality levels, give an idea of why. Well, I don't understand your question, Vector. Why what? I already know that company, and I don't know what they are doing. I know the machine that they are using. Since you work on those colors, it will give an idea of why. Why what? What do you want to know about the? Are you looking for information about the machine, or I don't know? You have to create well, I don't know because I'm not working on the game industry. So I have made some stuff for 3D printing with Star Wars characters, not robots. But I think the best way to approach that kind of process is to start working with Z Modeler. I'm not a hard surface guy, so try to use Z Modeler. So there are many tutorials about Z Modelers for making hard surface stuff, robots, cars, and stuff like that. If you allow me, I will send you the link via Messenger and whatever it is. Yeah, I think it will be better you are able to send me a link or an example or whatever you need. Messenger, Facebook, you mean? Facebook Messenger? Yeah, or Instagram, whatever you want. So now, once we have the layout, we can apply a kind of polishing on the polygroups now. And now I'm going to Control and tap here, Control invert the mask, sharp the mask, masking, sharpen the mask as many times as necessary. And now I'm going to go to a well-known plugin. I hope some of you already know it because I have been using it with my previous streamings, where it is a plugin called Precision Extract plugin. It is not an official plugin. That means that it doesn't come by default with the standard installation of ZBrush. You should find it on the internet, download it and install it on your computer by your own. And the good thing about this plugin is that we can control the thickness of the extraction. And with examples like this one, where we are looking for a gap or retain the painting, the enamel, or apply different colors on any kind of jewelry design, this is very useful because we can tell to ZBrush, and we are looking for a thickness or 0.6 millimeter, 0.6. In this case, it's going to be necessary to click double because we're going to use this mesh with live Boolean. I mean, if I start painting here on the canvas, this is the surface. The surface is the 0 value, of course. That means that we are about to extract the same amount to the inside than to the outside. So this is the outside extraction, of course, this is the inside extraction. So, and we are looking for, that's the reason why it's necessary to turn on this double option. And we are about to extract a 0.6 millimeter thickness block or piece of material. So that means that this, in this case, not this is going to be 0.6 and this is going to be 0.6. So 0.6, 0.6, 0.6 to both sides. That's the reason why in this case it's important to turn it on. So now we go now and let's click on extract. And there you go. And this is what we get. We have another subtool here with a 0.6, I'm sorry, 1.2 millimeter, 0.6 plus 0.6, 1.2. If we take the measurement with the ruler on side to side, we are reading here on our top left corner 1.1999 millimeters, 1.2 millimeter. So it works. Your question I already sent you. Let me check it. Did you send it to me on Facebook or Instagram? Oh, Instagram. I can see it now. Okay, I am seeing what you mean. Okay, let's see your question now. What? Is this more a matter of arbitration or is there a reason for it? I still don't understand your question first. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed one of your comments. Your question is, why is there the difference between the wax model, which is shown one way, especially on the ring body, without prongs? Okay, and then the casted model. Yeah, good appreciation. Yeah. So let's see how I can give you an answer about that. So your question is why you are printing or milling the digital file without prongs, and then on the casted models, or in this case is the finished model, you have prongs. Let me check. I noticed that too. Good eye. I also noticed that. Let me check. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, in this case, I was thinking about one answer, but in this case, it's not useful. It's not going to be useful because it's not a good example, or it's not what I was thinking about when the first time I read it. So you mean that when why on the wax model hasn't prongs, on the casted model it has prongs? I bet that it printed or it milling the model 2 times, one without and one with prongs. It hasn't any sense, because they missed to add the prongs on the milling file. So I bet that they should to send it again to the CNC machine to make the prongs, or because in this case they are prongs made with a program, with a software. The prongs haven't been made by hand with the traditional stone setting way of working. You can see the. I'm gonna show you. I will show everything to the other people. So Fexter is asking why here we are not having prongs, and here we are having prongs. The prongs are these little dots or little balls that we have surrounding each cavity for each stone. You can see here we haven't got here prong, we haven't got here prongs, but on the final model we have the prongs everywhere. So the prongs here have been made by hand, the same thing that the prongs on the top, the same thing with the prongs here, they were made by hand, but in this case they were made with software. Not 100%, because you still need to work the cavities or to refine the prongs or define the shapes or put the stones inside, but I bet that they forgot to, at least based from what I'm thinking about, this is the one test that they made, and then they milled this model again with the prongs made with the original software. I don't know if ZBrush, Rhino, or whatever software. Hasn't any specific meaning, in my opinion. You can ask them. You can send that message. They are very kindly people there. You can see, for example, here you can contact Christian or Alexis. They speak Spanish, so you can send them a message and try to resolve your question. So they're kindly people. Kind people. So maybe the best solution is send them a question. Why? And that's it. I think, in my opinion, there isn't any reason. The main reason, they forgot to add the prongs on that model, which were the model where they took the pictures for the post on the Instagram. But then I'm figuring out that they had to made it again, mill it again, or to curve again for having the prongs. because if not, you can see there are thousand millions of prongs. This is a very hard work. It's possible to make, but with so many prongs here to make by hand. Here in this case is not. Even the stone setters prefer to have this instead of this because they prefer to make the prongs manually or to cut off the necessary metal to put the stone inside. Also, you can notice the spaces surrounding the bug here, the scorpion. Here it is a flat surface because the stones that you are watching here, they were made by hand because it is a more precise distribution because they have less room for having mistakes because it's not very more non-regular distribution of the stone. This is the reason why they prefer to leave it blank or flat and made it by hand. These ones and this ones, but the other one they were distributed by more like a grid. It is not 100% a perfect grid, but almost like a grid because it's a very circular distribution. So it's just for saving time and money at the end. But you can see that the reasons most of the times comes from the manufacturers. That I mean that there isn't any main rules which everyone follows. So depending on the kind of design that you are making, depending on the manufacturer that you are working with, some prefer to make things this way, another one prefer to make the things that way. There are many different ways to approach the same thing. So if we talk about jewelry, there are many different ways. This is one thing that I was trying to investigate from the learning point of view because I wanted to learn how to make things properly or correctly. I was asking to many people and my conclusion is it depends. So there isn't any big rule which works everywhere or which works for everybody. So you need to know the different ways of manufacturing, of finishing or making the stone setting based on different companies or guys or people, I don't know. So there isn't any specific. Sometimes it's frustrating to don't find an answer for something specific, but in jewelry, one thing that I have been learning during the years that I'm working with, I'm working for jewelers or for companies, jewelry companies. So the conclusion is there isn't rules. So depending on many different factors and many different aspects, and one of those factors or one of those aspects is the human factor. Depending on the person who is making this, depending on the person who is making that, you should do the things this way or that way. So at the conclusion, I never know what to do. So, and the conclusion is ask whatever you need and learn from your client, and that's it. Yeah, it was more a thing of the post and advertising than have a real objective. Yeah, I think in my opinion it was more about a mistake. Well, maybe it's not a real mistake, but it hasn't any specific reason why it at this point it hasn't. You are not having prongs, and on the next picture you are having the prongs there. In my opinion, it was for a mistake, or they decide why we add the stones before sending to cast, because if not, we are going to take a lot of time for cutting all the prongs by hand, trying to cover the whole ring surface. So it's going to be better to send it back the file to the 3D software and start applying the prongs and send it back again to the CNC milling machine to start milling a new model. It's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is the first idea which came to my mind. So now we are having here 0.6 millimeter depth, and now it's time to start making booleans. So if we turn this on, so this is what we are getting. Of course, the band of the ring should be on top, or being considered also for the, and this is the 0.6 millimeter depth, and we were spending time drawing each feather, each separation of each feather, but as I was talking during the process, you can see you are working on this subtool. It's the negative subtool, and now you grab your Move Infinity brush with the topological option active. At any point you can make it more separate or less separate, more close together. You can start tweaking the shapes this way. So at this point you have room for fixing things that you don't like, or okay, minor changes. So we are not thinking about change completely the feather layout. We are just for example managing or covering better, distributing better the spaces between each feather, because we are having a very thin separation between two feathers. We can make it bigger, and that's it. And this is going to be very useful. Another thing that I like to do is I'm going to change the topology here. I'm going to isolate this. I'm going to isolate this one, Control W. Because I am watching here a strange polygroup here. Okay, we can groups by normals. Let's see what it does. No. Yes, groups by normal. You can see ZBrush by default applies one polygroup to each face, and now we can go to C modular as we did before. Give me half amount, keep the groups, don't apply any smoothing to the groups, and zero measure. That's it. We can subdivide, polish, just for getting a little bit more rounded corners. Okay, and this is one thing that we have here, and just a tip or I can give you here is what you can do is I'm going to grab this feather. I'm gonna make a polymer here. I'm gonna attach the wing here. I'm going to come back to the here. I'm going to grab this, send it here. I'm gonna append it here, and you can use the, instead of, you can see it here, we are having the same thing here. So let me fix this first. Oh, that's okay. It is okay. So but don't forget that you also have a third icon here. You have addition, subtraction, and here you have intersection, and you have this thing, and we are going to use this. Let's make Boolean now. Let's make the Boolean mesh right now, and then you come back to the original, and let's append the thing we just created. This one, no, this one, no. Delete. It is going to be this one. You have this, and what we are having this, because these are going to be the different pieces which we are going to use on our render software to render the different colors or the NML colors. Let me change the topology, click in the zero measure. We can click left as it is, adapt, because in this case it is just a subtool for being used for rendering. Oh, I'm gonna let's keep the polygroups, because I'm thinking about another tip or another personal tip. But we get this ugly topology here. Maybe let's retain the same without the smoothing. Let's another try. Oh, why am I having this weird thing? Oh, yeah, you can see here, this is from we are starting. So ZBrush is trying to keep this path for keeping the polygroup, so it doesn't work. So maybe it's gonna be better to create a new polygroups or groups by normals as we did before. Okay, and now serious. And now we can polish it. And this is what we get. We can inflate a little bit. Let me see why, and we need to come back why we are not getting, because we are having this polygroup not, this polygroup not, this polygroup. Okay, let's try it again. So we can reduce. Instead of 45, let's go to 35 groups by normals. Now it looks like yes. So okay, we're having this, we're having this. Okay, now we're having the necessary, because I am looking for this face. No, this here not, this here neither. So let's say 30 degrees. Groups by normals again. Now yes. Okay, so now keep the poop. Now make a new mess with the groups. It's just for adding more reality to your renders. This is just for, it is a personal mania that I have. So now the next step that we can do is I select this face, this face, this face, this face, the top face of each animal. We can apply a mask, control tap on the canvas, control shift, make it visible again. Now we can grow the mask, maybe 2 times, blur the mask, and now we can, using the control key with the gizmo, we can de-inflate and apply a negative inflation just for having this. You can see what I am getting, something like this. This is what we have now. This is what we had before, more square shape. This is the reason why when you are applying NML to a gap, so we're having a gap here. We want to cover this gap with yellow color in this case. Most of the time the NML is we don't keep the NML 100% straight on the surface like this. Most of the time the NML we are getting a kind of shrinkage here, and the NML goes down and goes up, so it's more realistic for having this effect instead of 100% perfect flat surface. And this is the reason why I'm doing this, just for adding this kind of concave cavity on each NML piece, just for applying more realism to the render. Maybe I'm going to smooth this, and now we can rename it. Okay, this way. You can see here we can inflate it a little bit more. And now, yes, when we have the right shape, we can apply auto groups. So ZBrush will apply an individual polygroup to each piece, to each feather. And maybe we can have you and you and you and you. You are going to be black. We can maybe black instead of black, dark blue, like something like this. RGB, fill object. And maybe we can call the paintbrush, apply one lighter blue here without the lazy mouse, something like this. And now we can go select this one, this one, this one, and this one. And maybe we can apply a greenish color, maybe this green. So fill object, maybe with a lighter one, we can apply kind of a gradient here. And the others are going to be white, white and white and white. So you are going to be white, fill object, and maybe we can apply this ring just for the tips. And now we are having this kind of thing. So maybe I'm going to RGB with less RGB intensity, something like this. And now the final touch, maybe we can change the material from the sculpting material I'm using to, I don't know, maybe RGB levels. It's a good, you can see how everything changes with this material, how we can apply M of material on fill object. So we are getting something that, this is just for rendering purposes, right? So maybe here, maybe darker green. No, material 100% RGB. So we are getting something like this, just for having the right, and this is what we're having. So this is just for rendering purposes, right? Because this is because we're going to try to replicate the final result with the NML and with everything. So we are talking about the file for 3D printing. Of course, we are going to send it out from ZBrush this way with the gaps, with the necessary gaps, but this is the color we are getting. So let me save this mouse, and what? Yeah. Okay, didn't miss any question or any comment. Okay, I keep working. So we can start thinking about the band, this, the bottom part, or maybe because the process is going to be more or less similar, because if you can see it has this kind of pattern on the band here. We can use the same, more or less the same process, but in this case, as we are having a circular shape, we can use the ray mesh. The ray mesh is gonna be, we can take advantage of the ray mesh features, this option, which is going to be very useful, I think. Let me think. I think yes, it's gonna be very useful. Okay, so let's where's the band? The band is here, so we can append a cube, for example. No, you should be where you should be, here, maybe here. So let's bring it down, make it smaller. Watch it this way. Maybe we can go to initialize, because this is the topology that we have by default, and we want to, because we are looking for to make a triangle, maybe to convert one square into one cube into a triangular 3D object. Maybe we can go to initialize and make a cube when we have less topology, like this. We have three different, by default we have 3 different polygons for each side. Control Shift and tap to select this one and delete the others, delete hidden, maybe 40 degrees rotation. And I'm going to grab this, something like this, and maybe we can click curve point, and this is what we get. Maybe it's this way, maybe it's like this. Now we can put it closer to the band. This is the surface of the band. Put it here, make it smaller. see. Then let's go to dynamic subdivision. Let's turn it on. Reduce the smooth subdivisions. Let's apply some thickness. Oh, and we're having two sides, so let's keep this so high and delete here. So this is what we are getting. And now we can try to bend arc again. That's for following, matching the surface. And this is going to be negative. You are negative. Where's the bend? The bend is here. So why we are not having a real subtraction? Because you can see here, if I turn this on, you can see it here. So the reason why I was thinking about another reason, but the main reason is because the eyeball was turned off. So this is what I have. Maybe it should be with a different shape. Maybe more closer to this side. I will come back before I bend it because it's gonna be easier to transform. And now I'm gonna control drag and make a kind of pattern. So let's send it to the center. And now I can, let me check how thick is this with the ruler. The distance we have between the two triangles, it is 1.85 millimeter. Okay, more than enough. So now we can bend them together. Like this. Let's bring them down here a little bit. And now we can start using the ray mask now. I think I am making something wrong because we are having the metal, and now we are having the enamel. It is a gap inside of the metal. So if we have this as the gaps, well, maybe we can make a completely different thing. Let's see. We add it here. You want to know the thickness that we have, the distance we have between the lower point and the border of the ring. With the transparency, turn it on. Here we have 0.9 millimeter. Okay, more than enough. We are in a safe place. So I mean that we are not making things very thin and easy to break, or having problems with the printing, or with the casting. Yes, and let's see. I'm thinking possible problems. So let's turn on array mask. Steps to take. So lock position, reset the pivot point. I'm going to rotate, and the Y. This is on the Y 360 degrees, and then start making repetitions. Maybe 10. Maybe we have 9. Better. Yeah, maybe something like this looks good enough. So as you can see, what is happening here, it's we are considering this subtraction also on the wing. So the wing, this thing should be here. Maybe we can make a group, turning on this little arrow that we have here. So it's like start making Boolean groups. That means that from the arrow, from the top till the arrow, we are gonna make a one operation, and when from the next arrow till the next arrow, we will get another operation, and so on. So this is a kind of differentiate how the icons affect to the subtools which are on top of the list. So then this is, we have the problem solved, and we can have something like this. And maybe it's gonna be a good idea to have a rounded lip here, something like this, just for having a little wire surrounding the borders of the band, because it's more comfortable to wear if you are not having sharp corners on the borders of the ring. So to make that, what we can do is we can go to this, and we can go to stroke, we can go to curve functions, turn off border and turn off crease edges, and leave the polygroups and frame the mesh. So we are having a curve following each polygroup. So now we can grab any insert mesh or curve brush. In this case, curve tube snap brush with a smaller size, and this is what we are getting. We can split mask points, and then maybe we can make them smaller. They are going to be here. They are going to be there. They're going to be there. Maybe smaller ones. And it's in terms of finishing, it's going to be better. Even if we, let's see how it works. Let's see how it works if I make a duplicate. Let's make it smaller. Let's send them here. Let's make them thinner. Maybe could be a solution for, not sure, but not sure, but maybe it could be a solution. To fix the symmetry that I have here, we can mirror and well on Z axis, on the Z, let's see, yeah, the Y, I'm sorry, and this is what we get. So okay, so coming back to the triangles, what time is it? Okay, we are still half an hour. Okay, no comments, no questions. Okay, no comments, no questions. Okay, let's keep working. And the triangles should be it should be something like this. Triangles are affecting to the okay, affecting to this one should be here. Okay, we are having something like this, and I'm going to make another triangles duplicate. Let's turn off the ray mesh. Let's how we can make this flat again. We can take the fast way using the clip curve, so to end something like this. Maybe dynamic, or you can use the transpose line and make a vertical transpose line, and now you can squeeze it like this, and now they are flat again. So I only need one, so let's get rid of one. So I'm gonna make a mask on this one, for example. Invert the mask, hide polygon, delete hidden, and make it smaller in the center here, and dynamic with a negative. This is going to be the cavity for the enamel, right? Maybe this. We are not going to go so deep, something like this. And this. Oh, maybe I rotated by mistake. Yes. Dynamic. This way. This. And now let's bend it with the bend arc option. There is a knot in the center. We can send it to the center, to 0. Now we can, using the bend arc, send it again to this, to the center, bend arc, this, and now we can now we have the cavities here for the enamel. And what you can do is, instead of repeating the same steps with a ray mask, you can come back to the original, to this one, and save. Using the save button, you will save a CAM button. That means file, I'm sorry, it's a ray mask file, a ray preset. So you can apply this preset to any other subtool, in this case this one, and open ray mask, and now you will be able to apply. And this is what we get. And one more step that we can take. We can let's bend cube. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it bigger, and let's make it thinner. Make it this way, thinner. Maybe we can change the topology. Groups by normals, theory measure, double keyboards. So maybe polish, something like this. Because I am creating a cutter, so let's make 45 degrees. Let's see, 45 now, less, more or less like this. And let's send it to the here. And maybe it's gonna be negative, something like this. Maybe it's gonna be necessary to make it longer. And not so deep. this. Maybe thinner in the center. And now we can, coming back to ray mask, open, use the same preset just for having this kind of ornamental finishing here. Okay, the reason why you can see here we are watching kind of string artifacts here when we are rotating the object. So let me save this first, because find an explanation why it's happening this. That is because the poor or the low resolution quality we are having here on the triangles. Maybe let's apply dynamics, apply the dynamic subdivision, groups, binomials, crisp polygons, that we can start subdividing the mesh. And you can see now that things starting disappear. And we still do the same thing with this. Apply groups binomial, crisp polygroups, Control G, Control G, and Control G. And now we are having, we can do the same thing here with the NML. So that we did on the feather. So making the intersection for having maybe this. No, small tweaks that we need here. And maybe we select the band. Maybe we can apply a bevel here. I don't like too much this internal. Okay, let's see what we did with this. Okay, let's stay this way. Maybe it's time to start thinking about the beetle shell or body. It's gonna be fun to sculpt. Now let me save this. Everybody's quiet. No people asking, no people comment. Okay. Okay. So maybe we can, I already have one reference for the beetle. It's a very traditional. I have this one. And I have this one. Maybe I don't know which one it's gonna fit better. I prefer this one, I think. We have, or you can see here, a bunch of different ones which are closer to the previous reference. Maybe this is the one that I like the most. Of course, maybe we can add the lines on the shell. And also we can invent anything about the head and about the little wings, a little legs, which it has. Because something happens here on the head, but I don't know what. So it's time to start inventing something. So we can start with this. Maybe we can go to the z-axis. This is the z, right? Yes. And we can go to draw. We can go to draw, front, back, map 1, click on import, attach the image. We can rotate it this way. We can make it smaller. We can change the fill mode from 1 to 3. So we are able now to see through the geometry, enhance factor to its maximum to 1, and enhance opacity a little bit lower like this, and maybe we can bring it up a little bit, something like this, scale, something like this, send it to the center, yeah, something like this. So let's start sculpting. I prefer when I'm sculpting something, maybe it's time to take a decision of if we want to curve on the surface. It wasn't symmetrical. So I mean, grabbing any of the sculpting process, or when we're having this kind of shapes, maybe it's gonna be a good idea instead of carving on the surface, so we can start splitting the thing or the beetle, the bug, into different parts. So I'm gonna turn on my colors, and now Control Shift with the slice brush this way and this way. This is what I'm getting. Maybe auto groups here, auto groups, and now going to select this one. I'm going to select this ones. I'm going to split hidden, and now close holes, and now I'm going to auto groups. I'm going to split hidden this one, close holes, and now we have different pieces. You can see I start polishing. You can see this is what I was referring before. Instead of start thinking about how to sculpt these shapes, maybe a good decision, I'm not saying it's the right decision, maybe it's gonna be more fun, instead of sculpting something, so we can start making different parts or different pieces like a puzzle. Maybe it's gonna be more fun, and we're gonna have more possibilities to work with in terms of making things bigger or smaller, to have different corrections during the sculpting process. So when we are making a stroke, the stroke, it's going to be there. If we don't like the stroke, we should come back and make it again, or refine the stroke we did. But with this way of working, splitting things into parts, maybe it's going to be a good idea, a more flexible way of working. So I'm gonna merge this down, because it's gonna be better to keep them on the same subtool. Maybe it's time to change the topology. ZBrush measure, maybe same amount, keeping the groups, don't apply any smoothing. To start having something like this, maybe I'm going to select this polygroup. Yes, I don't like it how it works on the top. Let's switch this way. This way, and now let's make it. I'm going to make a mask here. No, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to split this into more parts. A slice curve. I'm gonna slice this following the contour of the bed, or the bottom part. I'm gonna grab this one. Going to grab this one. Maybe this one, and maybe this one. Let's delete hidden, close holes. Ooh, something strange is happening here, so maybe it's gonna be better to maintain this. So now delete hidden, close holes. Now better. New topology. Okay, this is what I'm getting. Now I can use the same thing here for the head. Yeah, something like this. I'm gonna use this, creating a duplicate. Just maybe making a mask here, making an extraction of this mask, except so this is gonna be the bottom part. Yeah, the problem we are having is this is not in the middle. This thing. This is in the middle. This wasn't in the middle. Yeah, now it's in the middle, I guess. Something like this. This something. Okay. Oh yeah, I guess here I have a copy of two, the same subtool here. Okay, they should be here. Okay, more or less something like this. Rule of Franco 3. Hi, looking for some tips and tricks to improve my skills. Let me know what you need, so I will try to help you. So, depending on the kind of tricks or tips you are looking for. So we are making a ring, maybe you are making a completely different thing, so I'm not going to be very useful for you, but just let me know. I don't know what I'm doing because here I have a mess of things here. Let me see. Okay. I am splitting the beetle into different parts. I'm still trying to find an interesting shape. Not 100% what I'm doing, but during the journey, during the trip, so we are discovering interesting forms. So we are like sketching or So also, when we are creating jewelry, when we are designing jewelry products or jewelry models, we have to keep in mind the scale of the object. So maybe we are focused on apply a lot of details or a lot of tiny little forms, and maybe most of the time they are not going to be possible for being casted during the casting process. And even more important, most of the time jewelry design should be polished, well, that we normally call the finishing. When we are applying a shiny finishing to the surface. So, and with that, on that polishing process, when we are making things bright, we are gonna lose a lot of details, a lot of sculpting details which we were sculpting on the screen, and they were looks awesome and spectacular, but they will disappear on the polishing process. So we should be worried about that. So I mean that you don't have to get crazy about this creating tiny details. In my opinion, works better to try to retain the shapes and the forms, the important ones, to make them readable when they are very small, instead of making a spectacular full of detail object on the screen, which in reality it's gonna be looks completely blurred and deformed. I missed something here. This it's not time to start subdividing the mess yet and start applying details, so I'm still looking for good balance with the composition. Okay, maybe the head is too big. Maybe for the next streaming I will start completely something new. So I used to be here sculpting the same design or creating the same design during 3 streamings. I try to don't be more time with the same design, because I don't want to be here once a month making the same stuff or during too much time. So I think that it's much more interesting to have more different stuff. I like this little thing that they have in the middle. Let's make it so. Let's grab it here. So auto groups. Let's create the cavity first. And then we can apply the sphere here in the middle of the cavity. Tweak, make it bigger. Something like this, trick. Maybe. Okay, it has a completely different form. It has some kind of maybe something more like this. Let's see. Let's try to find more references. You have here at the mouth of it having I like this kind of shape it has. So maybe we can split the head into 3 different parts. So using this something like this. Around well. The split, group split, close holes. Close holes. And maybe we can get something like a little jaws here. They are longer than the head. Something like this. We can use the IQ curve. Maybe one in the middle. Yeah, having something like this. Thing I was saying before, we are making a almost invisible tiny little head. So maybe it doesn't look like a real beetle head, but you should think about the scale. Yeah, something like this. Maybe this is gonna work. And I have seen a little detail here for the legs. No, let me find the right picture. this one, where it has this like tiny hair, tiny stripes on the sides, and I like it. It's like, for example, what time is it? Okay, 5. We only still have 5 minutes, so we can blur, we can send it to the center. So I mean that you will see the final design posted on my social media. So in the next streaming, just in case you missed something and you are curious about how I did anything that I didn't explain on the streamings, so you can ask them, you can ask whatever you need, and I will be glad to answer you and try to give you a solution about what you are looking for. I will try as usual to make a completely ready for 3D printing model, and I will render it as usual with Keyshot. Okay, I think for the main shape of the beetle, I think it's gonna be good enough. Like this, of course, maybe it still needs a little bit more work, not too much, because it doesn't need to be very crazy detail, but something. It's almost done, I think. Like this, something like this. Too little. Something. Well, there. Let's see what happens on the front tail, from the front legs. Maybe they will start growing here, here, and maybe we can change a little bit the shape there, trying to mimic or to replicate a kind of connection. This. Maybe we can create rear legs here. Something like this. Simple ones. And you can feel now this, the days becomes shorter and shorter. Now it's completely almost night here, not 100% but almost. And you can watch during my previous streamings, I think there was more light than now, I think. Okay, maybe like this gonna be enough, because maybe I start getting a little bit crazy. with unnecessary forms, but we are on the right path, I think. Maybe this needs to be thicker. To make a stronger union between the basket of the stone and the okay, let's see if there are any comments. Right now you are a floating head. Yes. Yeah, because it becomes completely nice with my black dress and yeah, but it is an effect that I like it. I have seen some streamers with they are in a completely 100% black background, so they looks like I just mentioned, like floating floating heads, and I think I like it. I will consider for future streaming this outfit. So okay, I think it's time to wrap up. So this is what we did so far. Let me save it. Save. I think today we did many more, much more progress than the previous streaming. So we were making the wing. It is, we can say it is around 70%, almost done. There are many little tweaks still to make and small details, but then I like it how it looks so far. So I will try to work on my free time when I can, because I have less and less free time for personal projects, but I like to finish the designs that I start with. Even if you have seen my the cover that I used. Let me save this for my streaming. I will show you what I'm talking about. So you see this thing. This is the cover that I just did for my future possible new streamings. As you can see, this group is all of the designs I have been made since. This is the previous streaming. This is the streaming after the previous. This is the streaming after the previous and the previous, and so on. So this is the I am making the streaming maybe or the design number 21. This is the 20, the 19, the 18, the 17, the 16, and the 15. So all of this design I was make them during the live sessions with you and with Maxon and with ZBrush. So in the future we will make many more. So I'm very grateful to all of you who have been here, and thanks a lot to all of the people who have been watching the video one recorded. I will be here next month, November. I will be here. I will start thinking about a new design. I will post the result of this one on my social media, mainly on my Instagram. You can see on the bottom of my floating head, you will see my link tree, so you will get there access to all of my social media websites, so you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Behance, Arstation, and many other sites. And I hope this stream has been useful for you and interesting. And you have any comments or suggestions, just post it on the comments below, and I will take a look as more as I can, and I will wait you. I will see you here next month in November. So take care, everybody, and thank you. Bye.